Well, good morning, 12F and 12D. Um, First of all, I really apologize that I could not take your classes last week. In fact, I had some technical problems along with poor health. And these days, I'm passing through some rather unusual circumstances. So I'll try my level best to take your classes. If it's not possible, I'll keep sending you material on WhatsApp. Now, you see, as far as 12D is concerned, I couldn't meet them at all. But 12F, I'd like to point out one thing that on Tuesday I was available and I looked for you, but none of you attended the meeting. I don't know what the problem was. Uh, Please don't repeat it. Do attend the meeting on your class days. Tomorrow, perhaps the class, I'm not sure whether it will be possible or not, but do try joining the meeting because tomorrow there's the supplementary test. And there is one student from 12th F, that is some Paveen, I don't know the full name, and one from 12D. So uh, perhaps the class would not be possible, but in any case, hopefully we'll be meeting on Wednesday. But in order to make up the loss, I'm sending you another voice note that this would be Rat Trap Part 4. And in this, I'll complete the rat trap so that on Wednesday we can start lesson 5 in our course. That would be last from Flamingo, that is Indigo. So please do not miss your classes. Now, um, you see, I'd repeat my request after a long time that you haven't subscribed my channel. Please do subscribe it. It's Learn English with Akhlaq Ahmed. I have noticed that there are views. Some of you may have watched it, but you haven't subscribed. Please click the subscribe button when you play the video. All of you, and ask your friends, family, etc. to do the same. Open each video at least for a second and then close it so that will be counted as a view. If everyone does it, then I'll have a number of subscribers and a number of views. I I hope that this time you will not disappoint me. Now, as far as our lesson is concerned, I'll not repeat the story because I hope that you would have gone through the first three parts. So, if you haven't, please go through it, the first three parts, and give me a feedback as to how much have you understood and whether you have gone through it or not. Just inform me if you've gone through it and what are your reactions. If you have any problems, you can ask. So at least inform me you have gone through it or not. So, and attend the classes regularly. Otherwise, as I said, if there is something wrong on my end, I'll keep you sending um, material on WhatsApp and on Team and on YouTube. I've already told you the method how to access the material on Team. ये आपको बताया जा चुका है किस तरह से आपको फाइल टैब में जाना है जनरल चैनल में अपने जाके फाइल टैब में जाके क्लिक करके और फिर मोर ऑप्शंस बटन में जाके डाउनलोड करके तब आप उसे सुन पाएंगे तो अगर अब भी किसी को इसमें कोई प्रॉब्लम हो तो आप पूछ सकते हैं Now let's come to the story. You remember that the peddler is now in the home of the Iron Master, and he is well dressed now, and it's broad daylight. It's for the first time that the Iron Master gets to see him in broad daylight. Let's see what happens. But although his guest was now so well groomed, the Iron Master did not seem pleased. Well groomed, well attended, very well dressed. So, but the Iron Master was not pleased. Now, see, um, he looked at him with puckered, wrinkled brow. Obviously, he was very unhappy, and it was easy to understand that when he had seen the strange fellow in the uncertain reflection from the furnace, he might have made a mistake, but that now, when he stood there in broad daylight, it was impossible to mistake him for an old acquaintance. So the ironmaster realized his mistake. He thought that it was a mistake because when he first saw him, it was, through the uncertain reflection from the furnace, the uncertain lights, the flickering lights that was coming from the furnace. So it was in that light that he had seen him, and that is why he had committed the mistake. But in the broad daylight, it was quite clear that he was not his friend. So though it was the mistake of the ironmaster also, and we know the peddler was also, a bit greedy. Look at the reaction of the ironmaster. What does this mean? He thundered. He was very angry. The stranger made no attempt to pretend. He saw at once that the splendor had come to an end. Look, this is a very pathetic sentence. You see, for poor people, for a person like Peddler, this moment was a moment of splendor, glory, grandeur. ये एक बहुत ही इज्जत की बात थी उसके लिए. एक रात के लिए, कुछ वक्त के लिए सही, उसने इतने अच्छे कपड़े पहने और उसको इतनी इज्जत दी गई, लेकिन अब ये सब खत्म हो चुका था. It is not my fault, sir, he said. I never pretended to be anything but a poor trader, and I pleaded and begged to be allowed to stay in the forge. So he says, look, um, he didn't say that he was Nils Olof, and this is true. But remember, he didn't even deny that he was not Nils Olof. So he said that he only wanted to stay in the forge and continues, but no harm has been done. At worst, I can put on my rags once again and go away. Well, said the ironmaster, hesitating a little, it was not quite honest either. You must admit that. And I should not be surprised if the sheriff would like to have something to say in this matter. Now here it's a funny moment. The ironmaster threatens to call the sheriff, the chief officer of a city, like we have district magistrate. Now the tramp philosophizes. Remember, he's an illiterate man, and still he's trying to philosophize. That is why the moment becomes both pathetic and funny. The tramp took a step forward and struck the table with his fist. Now I'm going to tell you, Mr. Ironmaster, how things are, he said. This whole world is nothing but a big rat trap. All the good things that are offered to you are nothing but cheese rinds and bits of pork. Rinds are packing cases set out to drag a poor fellow into trouble. And if the sheriff comes and locks me up for this, then you, Mr. Ironmaster, must remember that a day may come when you yourself may want to get a big piece of pork, and then you would get caught into the trap. The ironmaster began to laugh. You know, it was, I mean, he was trying to philosophize, so obviously it looked funny. It looked, um, it's pathetic as well. That was not so badly said, my good fellow. Perhaps we should let the sheriff alone on Christmas Eve. But now get out of here as fast as you can. But see what happens now. But just as the man was opening the door, the daughter said, I think he ought to stay with us today. I don't want him to go. And with that, she went and closed the door. What in the world are you doing? Said the father. Well, notice that the characters of the ironmaster and his daughter are almost opposite to each other. The ironmaster is a very practical man. He fears that if he gives refuge to this unknown man, the peddler in his house, he might steal things or cause any trouble. But Edla is very emotional, you know. Um, she has compassion, she has emotion, she has an own reason. We'll find it out. The daughter stood there quite embarrassed and hardly knew what to answer. That morning she had felt so happy when she thought how homelike and Christmassy she was going to make things for the poor hungry wretch. Yes, so she was inspired this idea on the occasion of Christmas that she was going to make it very home-like, very comfortable, very Christmas-like, and give him the Christmas pleasure, to this poor man. We too get this kind of inspiration on our own festival. So Edla was very emotional and he was inspired to help a poor man. She was not practical. She didn't pay any attention whether he would cause any harm to the household or not. Um, so, right. Uh, she could not get away from the idea all at once. So she could not drop that idea, and that was why she had interceded for the vagabond. That is why she had pleaded for the vagabond. You know, vagabond is the wanderer. Now, see, she gives reasons. I am thinking of this stranger here, said the young girl. He walks and walks the whole year long, and there is probably not a single place in the whole country where he is welcome, and can feel at home. So she says that this man has a miserable life. He has no home. He keeps walking. He is welcome at he's welcome nowhere, you know. Wherever he turns, he's chased away. That is, he's driven away. Uh, and, you know, and always he is afraid of being arrested and cross-examined. Cross-examined to examine someone by opposite parties evidence. जैसे कि आपसे कोई गलती हुई तो अब आपकी बातों को नहीं सुना जाएगा बल्कि जो दूसरा कह रहा है कि उससे गलती हुई है उसकी बातों को सही मान के आपसे आपको एग्जामिन किया जाएगा. सो दैट वाज द यू नो यानी ये मैं फिर मिसाल दे दे रहा हूँ जैसे मुझसे गलती होती है और अम, मुझ पे जो इल्ज़ाम लगाता है उसकी बात सुनी जाएगी. मेरी बात नहीं, मेरी तरफ से कोई सफाई नहीं सुनी जाएगी. दैट इज क्रॉस एग्जामिनेशन. सो एनीवे, आई शुड लाइक टू हैव हिम एंजॉय अ डे, sorry, yes, a day of peace with us here, just one in the whole year. So she says, look, she wants to, you know, wants that the peddler should enjoy one day in peace, just one in the whole year. What does it really matter? The ironmaster mumbled something in his beard. To mumble is to mutter or speak indistinctly. He could not bring himself to oppose her. It was all a mistake, but of course, she continued. But anyway, I don't think we ought to chase away a human being whom we have promised, um, whom we have asked to come here, and to whom we have promised Christmas cheer. Look, she says that we ourselves have asked him to come here, and we have promised him Christmas cheer. So it will be very unholy to turn him away. That is why Iron Master says, you preach worse than a parson. said the ironmaster. I only hope you won't have to regret this. Parson is clergyman, you know. You have priest, parson, bishop, pope, etc. So it's ranked in church. So the ironmaster warns that she won't have to regret this. The young girl took the stranger by the hand and led him up to the table. Now sit down and eat, she said, for she that she could see that her father had given him. The man with the rat traps said not a word. He um, only sat down and helped himself to the food. Time and time again he looked at the young girl who had interceded for him. Why had she done it? What could the crazy idea be? Crazy, strange. That's what the peddler was thinking. After that, Christmas Eve at Ramsjo passed just as it always had. The stranger did not cause any problem, any trouble, because he did nothing but sleep. The whole forenoon he lay on the sofa in one of the guest rooms and slept at one stretch. At noon they woke him up so that he could have his share of good Christmas fare. Fare here means food. But after that he slept again. It seemed as though for many years he had not been able to sleep as quietly, as safely as here at Ramsjo. Quite clear, because he is a wanderer. He always sleeps on footpaths and roads, so he never felt himself safe. But here he was safe, so he was, passed most of his time sleeping. In the evening, when the Christmas tree was lighted, they woke him up again, and he stood for a while in the drawing room, blinking as though the candlelight hurt him. This means that he was still feeling sleepy, blinking, winking, looking with half eye opened, as if he was hurt by the candlelight. But after that, he disappeared again. 2 hours later, he was aroused once more. He then had to go down into the dining room and eat the Christmas fish and porridge. As soon as they got up from the table, he went around to each present and said thank you and goodbye. But when he came to the young girl, she gave him to understand that it was her father's intention that the suit he was wearing, that the suit he wore was to be a Christmas present. He did not have to return it, and if he wanted to spend next Christmas Eve in a peace, in peace, where he could be, where he could get rest in peace and be sure that no evil would befall him, he would be welcomed back again. So you see, the girl was so kind that she even gave him her father's suit and even promised that she would be willing to, host him next Christmas as well. Now think as you read. Let's answer a few questions before we proceed. What made the peddler accept the Edla Winminson's invitation? You see, first of all, Edla spoke to him very kindly, and she assured him that he would be allowed to leave the house as quietly and freely as he comes. And she looked at him with compassionate and heavy eyes almost in tears. She even expressed her sorrow at the fact that things have been so bad with him. So the peddler felt confidence in him and believed that she would never cheat him. That is why he accepted Edla Wilminson's invitation. What doubts did Edla have about the peddler? Well, when Edla came into the forge and tried to bring the peddler home, thinking that he was a captain, she thought that either because the man was frightened, so she thought that he had either stolen something or he has escaped from the jail. When did the ironmaster realize his mistake? When the ironmaster saw the peddler in broad daylight, he realized his mistake. What did the peddler say in his defense when it was clear that he was not the person the ironmaster thought he was? Well, the peddler made no attempt to dissimulate. He said that he pretended to be nothing but a poor trader and he wanted to stay in the forge. And he even said that he can put on his rags and go away. The fifth question here: why did Edla still entertain with the peddler even after she knew the truth about him? Well, Pedla was inspired by religious sentiment. She was passionate, she was emotional. She wanted to give comfort to a poor man, especially on the occasion of Christmas. Um, you know, so she was not at all practical minded like her father. That was the major difference between the personalities or characters of the two persons. So that is why, Edla wanted to entertain the peddler. We'll continue. So when the girl gave him the impression that the suit would belong to him and that he could come again next Christmas, the man with the rat traps did not answer anything to this. He only stared at the young girl in boundless amazement, in unlimited surprise. He was not able to understand as to why she was so kind. In fact, nobody had been so kind to him in the world. The crofter was kind to him, but he robbed him. The ironmaster was earlier kind to him and then was rude, but Edla had been kind to him throughout. The next morning was the ironmaster and his daughter got up in good season to go to the early Christmas service. Their guest was still asleep and they did not disturb him. When at 10 o'clock they drove back from the church, the young girl sat and hung her head even more dejectedly than usual. Dejectedly, sadly. This is the reason. At church, she had learned that one of the old crofters of ironworks had been robbed by a man who went around selling rat traps. So she had learned the truth of the peddler whom she had hosted. And so she was feeling disappointed that she had given refuge to a thief. Now see how angry the father is. You see, the father is not at all moved by, any sentiment of holiness. He is very practical, and now he taunts at the girl and says, "Yes, that was a fine fellow you let into the house," said her father. "I only wonder how many silver spoons are left in the cupboard by this time." So he thought that the man must have stolen a lot of things and went away. The wagon had hardly stopped at the front steps when the ironmaster asked the valet whether the stranger was still there. He added that he had heard at church that the man was a thief. Now, see what happens. This is the most dramatic moment in the story. The valet answered that the fellow had gone and that he had not taken anything with him at all. On the contrary, he had left behind a little package which, which Miss Wilmanson was to be kind enough to accept as a Christmas present. So instead of taking anything, he left a Christmas present, and look what the Christmas present was. The young girl opened the package, which was so badly done up um, that the contents came into view at once. Done up, fastened. She gave a little cry of joy. She found a small rat trap, and in it lay three wrinkled 10 kroner notes. But that was not all. In the rat trap lay a letter written in large, jagged characters. Jagged, uneven. So he had returned the 30 kroners then, and he had written this letter to Edla. Let's read the letter. Honored and noble Miss, this is how he addresses her, and then says, since you have been nice to me all day long, as if I was a captain, I want to be nice to you in return, as if I was the real captain. For I do not want you to be embarrassed at this Christmas season by a thief, but you can give back the money to the old man on the roadside who has the money pouch hanging as uh, hanging on the window frame as a bait for the poor wanderers. Now, please understand one thing here, that he says, you've been so kind to me as if I was a captain. In correct English, it should be as if I were a captain. जब भी हम कोई supposed condition बताते हैं, जैसे हम कहें he behaved as though he were the master of the house, तो वो ऐसा बर्ताव कर रहा था जैसे कि वो घर का मालिक था, जबकि वो नहीं था. Similarly, as ये पेडलर कहता है that as if I was a captain. Actually तो वो कैप्टन नहीं था, तो उसको कहना चाहिए था as if I were a captain. But because he was an uneducated man, so he was using this language. We will, for the time being, skip think as you read and come to it after we complete it. The peddler continues his letter and says, the rat trap is a Christmas present from a rat who would have been caught in this world's rat trap if he had not been raised to captain, because in that way he got the power to clear himself. तो अब ये बात समझने की है, देखिए. एंड ही साइंस हिमसेल्फ एज कैप्टन वॉन स्टेल. वो अपने आप को कैप्टन, रिटन विद फ्रेंडशिप एंड हाई रिगार्ड, कैप्टन वॉन स्टेल. वो अपने आप को पेडलर नहीं कहता. उसने ये रीज़न दिया कि ये रैट ट्रैप एक प्रेजेंट है किसकी तरफ से, एक रैट की तरफ से. यानी एक आदमी एक रैट की तरह है जो दुनिया के धोखों में फंस जाता है. और वो कहता है कि वो भी दुनिया के धोखों में और यहाँ के ये यानी वर्ल्ड के ट्रैप में फंस जाता अगर उसे कैप्टन के स्टेटस तक रेज न किया जाता, क्योंकि उसको उसके साथ वो बर्ताव किया गया जो कि कैप्टन के साथ किया जाता है. इससे उसको मॉरल स्ट्रेंथ मिली. ही गॉट पावर. पावर से यहाँ पे मतलब है मॉरल स्ट्रेंथ. टू रिडीम हिमसेल्फ, टू एक्सेप्ट हिज मिस्टेक, तो इस तरह से वो दुनिया के ट्रैप में फंसने से बच गया. अदरवाइज वो फंस जाता अगर अपना क्राइम एक्सेप्ट नहीं करता. तो उसके साथ इतना नाइस बिहेवियर किया गया, इसीलिए वो रिफॉर्म हो गया. ये मतलब है. अब हम ये थिंक एज यू रीड देख लेते हैं. वाई वॉज एडला हैप्पी टू सी द गिफ्ट लेफ्ट बाय द peddler? That was because, after all, Edla was proven right. You know, the peddler had not only given her a Christmas gift, but returned the 30 kroner also. So at the end, Edla proved to be right. Her good deeds, produced results and reformed a man. Why did the peddler sign himself as Captain Wonsdale? Because he now feels as if he is a captain, and because the most important reason is that he was treated as a captain, which gave him power to accept his sin. And when he accepted his sin, he could escape getting caught from in the trap of the world. So he signs himself as Captain Von Stale. Now we come to understanding the text. How does the peddler interpret the um, acts of kindness and hospitality shown by the crofter, the ironmaster, and his daughter? Look, as far as crofter's hospitality is concerned, he does not respect it and steal his money. As far as ironmaster is concerned, the ironmaster was hospitable, but once again, he became greedy, and he neither confirmed that he was Nils Olof nor he denied it, thinking that he would get more money. But when his identity was revealed, he said that, it was not his fault because he wanted to stay in the forge. But as far as, Edla is concerned, her hospitality, he in fact respected the hospitality, and not just that, but it helped reform him. He was a reformed man. So, in a way, he responded befittingly to the hospitality of Adla. You can elaborate on it. What are the instances in the story that show that the character of Iron Master is different from that of his daughter in many ways? Yes, I've told you. That is, the Iron Master wanted to turn away. First of all, he didn't care, he didn't take care to make sure whether the peddler was really Nils Olof or not. You know, in haste, he committed a mistake. It was his mistake. Why did he bring him home? Of course, it was Peddler's mistake also, but it was Iron Master's mistake as well. And then, on the occasion of Christmas, he wanted to drive him away. That's because he is practical minded. He fears that the, you know, peddler might cause some harm to the household. And when he returns from the church, when it was confirmed that the man was a thief, he expected that he would steal something from the home rather than he would get reformed. So, he was a very different kind of a man. Edla, on the other hand, was very emotional. She was very excited about the idea that she would make home like an Christmas Eve for the poor, hungry wretch. And later also, she gave him the suit of the Iron Master, and even, invited him next year on the occasion of Christmas. So she was very kind, she was compassionate, she was moved, she was very emotional, and in a way, she was very religious also. She expected that good may reform the bad. So, in this way, the two characters are different. Um, then, question number three. The story has many instances of unexpected reactions at the other's behavior. Pick out the instances of these surprises. One surprise is that when the peddler knocks on the door of the crofter, he was welcomed, although he had never been welcomed, and the crofter was very hospitable. The other surprise is um, when the Iron Master, calls him Nils Olof, and he was amazed, he was surprised, but he took advantage of the situation. Another example you might say is that when Edla comes and lifts his hat, the man was obviously um, habitual of sleeping with one eye open, and he was frightened, thinking that somebody had come to catch him. And this is, in a way, an example of humor also. And lastly, the peddler's reaction when the ironmaster threatens to call the sheriff. He begins philosophizing. He's an illiterate man, so you never expect an illiterate man to philosophize like this. What made the peddler finally change his ways? Well, we have discussed it. At last, kindness and hospitality and compassion made him change his ways. I'm giving you a brief reply. You can elaborate on it. How does the metaphor of rat trap serve to highlight the human predicament? It really serves to highlight the human predicament. You see, the point is that as human beings, we have desires. Some of us are poor, some of us are rich. The poor ones really want to have those things which are owned by rich people, but they do not have the means, and they are not able to control their desire, and they use immoral means to those luxurious things. And the moment they do so, they get ultimately caught in the trap. क्योंकि दुनिया का कुछ मामला ही ऐसा है। यहाँ कुछ अमीर हैं, कुछ गरीब हैं। गरीब लोग चाहते हैं कि वो भी अच्छी चीज़ें हासिल करें। अब उनके पास ज़राए तो है नहीं, लेकिन वो अपनी ख्वाहिशात पे काबू नहीं कर पाते हैं, और कोई ना कोई गुनाह या गलती कर बैठते हैं, तो फिर उससे वो दुनिया के जाल में फंस जाते हैं, और उससे निकलना बहुत मुश्किल होता है. So the metaphor, is quite apt. Then the peddler comes out to be a person with a subtle sense of humor. How does this serve in lightening the seriousness of the story and also endear him to us? उसमें सेंस ऑफ ह्यूमर है, वो रिएक्ट नहीं करता, गुस्सा नहीं करता. Iron Masters से भी उसकी, when he is confronted with the Iron Master, he only says, um, first of all, God knows that things have gone downhill with me. Then later on also, he says he makes no attempt to dissimulate. He says that that he wanted to stay only in the forge and go away. And later he philosophizes, which shows that he has a certain sense of humor also. And ultimately, he gets reformed and returns the three wrinkled 10 kroner bills. All these things, you know, um, lightens the theme of the story, the seriousness, and also, you know, um, attract our sympathy towards the peddler. Now, talking about the text, the reader's sympathy is with the peddler right from the beginning of the story. Now, the question is, why is this so? Is the sympathy justified? Well, usually, it's human nature to sympathize with um, the person who is, say, crushed, who is downtrodden, um, who suffers. जो भी परेशानी में होता है, हमारी सिंपैथी ऑटोमेटिकली उसके साथ हो जाती है. अब वो सिंपैथी जस्टिफाइड है या नहीं? नाउ दिस इज अ डिबेटेबल क्वेश्चन. He steals the money, so can we really sympathize with him? Then he becomes greedy, you know and doesn't reveal his identity to the Iron Master immediately. एक तो व्यू ये हो सकता है कि ये सिंपैथी जस्टिफाइड नहीं है. एक व्यू ये हो सकता है कि ये सिंपैथी जस्टिफाइड है. इट इज completely justified because basically he was a peddler. He used to sell rat traps, but he didn't get even enough to eat. That is why he used to indulge in petty thieveries. It was not to gain luxuries that he indulged in petty thieveries. It was only to keep both ends meet. उसकी वजह से वो ये सब करता था. तो ये उसकी मजबूरी थी. जब उसे खाने तक को नहीं मिलता था, तो वो इस तरह के एक्ट कर रहा था कि उसे कुछ पैसे मिल जाए. एंड द ग्रेटेस्ट थिंग दैट गोज इन हिज एडवांटेज इज दैट at the end of the story, he accepts his mistake, accepts his sin, and returns the three wrinkled 10 kroner bills. तो इस पे आप elaborate कर सकते हैं. The story focuses also on loneliness and need to bond with others. Yes, the crofter was lonely. That is why he was so happy to get someone to talk to in his loneliness. Then the peddler himself is a lonely man who keeps on plodding the road, plodding on the road, and he has no company, no home, no family. He also suffers from loneliness. The ironmaster and his daughter, they too are lonely. They live in a big house, but they do not have any company. So, this suggests that in the world there is the problem of loneliness, and as human beings, we should create bond with each others so that the problem of loneliness may be overcome. Now, have you known or heard of any episode where a good deed or an act of kindness has changed a person's view of the world? Well, this is a subjective question, and I'll invite your opinions. You can send me your opinion on WhatsApp group. इस क्वेश्चन नंबर 4 के बारे में, सॉरी क्वेश्चन नंबर 3, ये यस क्वेश्चन नंबर 3 है ये। इसके बारे में अपनी ओपिनियन आप लोग दें अपने अपने ग्रुप पे। डी और एफ आप लोग अपनी अपनी ओपिनियन दें, जितने लोग दे सकते हैं। ये आपको स्पोकन इंग्लिश की भी प्रैक्टिस देगा, और कुछ इंटरेक्शन भी होगा। सो प्लीज गिव योर ओपिनियन। नाउ वी कम टू द लास्ट क्वेश्चन। द स्टोरी इज बोथ entertaining and philosophical. Yes, first of all, the story is entertaining because suspense is maintained. There is a peddler, he commits a crime, and there is the whole story. Now, we do not know what would happen at the end. At the end, he is reformed. It has got a happy end. So, moreover, there is fun, humor in the story. Also, the story is narrated in the manner of a fairy tale. So, all these elements, the peddler has a certain sense of humor. These, all these elements make it entertaining. But at the same time, it is philosophical because it conveys the idea that this whole world is like a trap for us. There are so many things of that we want to get, whether they are luxurious things or you know there are all sorts of comforts available in the world, but the problem is that we are short of means. And what happens that because we are short of means, we commit one sin or the other. We are unable to control our desire and get caught in the trap of the world. And it keeps happening. It has been happening right from the beginning of the world and will continue to happen. Those people who are able to control their desire, they are the best of the people. And those who are not able to control their desires and indulge in immoral acts, obviously, they need to reform themselves. लेकिन ये दुनिया का कारखाना ऐसा ही है कि यहाँ पे नुमाइश है, यहाँ पे बहुत सारी चीज़ें ऐसी हैं जो हमें अपनी तरफ खींचती हैं, और हम उनमें पड़ भी जाते हैं, लेकिन हम ये नहीं सोचते कि हम मीन्स कैसे इस्तेमाल कर रहे हैं। तो दुनिया हमारे लिए कैद खाना बन जाती है, फिर हमें सफरिंग ही सफरिंग होती है। और अगर हम अब एक प्रॉब्लम ये है कि हमारे अंदर डिज़ायर भी है, डिज़ायर ना हो तो फिर तो कोई प्रॉब्लम ही ना होगी। सो यू सी इन दिस वे द स्टोरी इज philosophical also and entertaining also. So you see, I have discussed the lesson 4 completely, thoroughly. Um, Vocabulary, language, everything. I have not left everything, anything at all. If still you have any confusion, you can ask. I think the classes that we missed last week, of course, on Tuesday, 12th F students were not available, and the rest of the classes I missed. So this loss, I think I have covered by completing lesson 4 from Flamingo, and um, you know, inshallah, either from tomorrow or from day after tomorrow. I mean, from Tuesday or Wednesday, we will start Indigo, and if we could not meet online, that is, could not meet at the time of our timetable, then as usual, I'll keep posting you the material on WhatsApp. But that doesn't mean that you should not attend the classes. Please do attend the classes. Thursday, Saturday is a holiday, so 12D students I think I will have to send some material to you because we have two periods on Saturday. So we'll be having only two of our periods this week. So I'll send you some material on WhatsApp. Let's see. Um, so please remember my request to subscribe, like, and share the contents of my channel. Learn English with Akhlaq Ahmed. I very much hope that this time you will not disappoint me. If you have any problem in subscribing, let me know. But increase the number of subscriptions, and ask everyone to at least open each video once for a second and then close it. Right? So, I think this is it for the time being. Tomorrow, if possible, 12th F, I'll take your class. Otherwise, we will meet on Wednesday. By tomorrow, I mean Tuesday. If on Tuesday I'm able to take your class, then it's okay. Otherwise, I'll meet you on Wednesday. So please send in your reactions. Inform me whether you have gone through the rat trap or not. If you have any problems or not, give your opinions on question number 3 from talking about the text, and interact with me. And don't keep the groups uh, silent all the time, Keep sending some kind of voice messages. Okay. Thank you very much. Best of luck.